He saved an alien chief's daughter from Quicksand days later. She returned with her entire clan. The jungle planet of Vexara Prime stretched endlessly before Kyle Martinez as he pushed through the thick purple vegetation with his research team. The air hung heavy with moisture and the scent of alien flowers that bloomed in shades humans had never named. Kyle wiped sweat from his forehead and checked his scanner one more time. The mineral deposits they were searching for should be somewhere in this sector. His boots squelched in the muddy ground as he moved forward. The rest of his team had spread out across the valley floor, searching for any signs of the rare crystals their company desperately needed. Kyle had been on Vexara Prime for 3 months now, and still found the planet both beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. A sound caught his attention. It was different from the usual calls of the strange bird-like creatures that lived in the canopy above. This was a cry of distress. Kyle turned toward the noise and began jogging through the undergrowth. His training had taught him to be cautious on alien worlds, but something in that voice made him move faster. He burst through a wall of broad leaves and stopped at the edge of a clearing. What he saw made his blood run cold. A young alien woman was trapped in what looked like quicksand up to her waist. Her skin was a soft lavender color that seemed to shimmer in the dappled sunlight. She had long silver hair that cascaded down her back, and large eyes the color of amber that were wide with panic. She was trying to pull herself free, but each movement only made her sink deeper. Kyle recognized the signs immediately. This was exactly like the quicksand pits back on Earth. The more you struggled, the faster you went down. "Hey," he called out. "Stop moving. You're making it worse." The alien woman jerked her head toward him. For a moment, fear flashed across her face, but then she seemed to understand his tone, if not his words. She froze in place, watching him with those incredible amber eyes. Kyle quickly assessed the situation. There was a fallen log about 10 feet from the edge of the pit. He ran to it and tested its weight. It was heavy, but he could manage. With a grunt, he dragged the log toward the quicksand. Being careful not to get too close to the edge himself, he positioned the log so one end rested on solid ground and the other extended out toward the trapped woman. Then he carefully walked out onto the log, distributing his weight as evenly as possible. The wood creaked beneath him but held firm. When he was close enough, Kyle extended his hand toward her. "Grab on," he said slowly. "I'll pull you out." The alien woman hesitated for just a second, then reached up with a slender arm. Her hand was larger than a human's, with long, graceful fingers that ended in what looked like small claws. Kyle grasped her wrist firmly and she grabbed his in return. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "Now don't thrash," he instructed, speaking in a calm, steady voice. "We're going to do this slowly. On 3, I'm going to pull and you just let your body go limp. 1, 2, 3. Kyle pulled with all his strength. At first, nothing happened. The quicksand held her tight like it didn't want to give up its prize. Then slowly, inch by inch, she began to rise. The suction made horrible squelching sounds as it released her. Kyle kept pulling, his muscles burning with effort. The alien woman did exactly as he had shown her, keeping her body relaxed and letting him do the work. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, her legs came free of the mud with a final wet pop. Kyle pulled her onto the log and they both collapsed there, breathing hard. "Thank you," she said in accented but clear English. "You saved my life, human." Kyle was too surprised to speak for a moment. "You speak my language," he finally managed. She nodded, pulling strands of silver hair away from her muddy face. "Many of my people learn the languages of other worlds. I am called Lyra. I am daughter of Chief Toran, who leads the Silvani clan." Before Kyle could respond, a crackling sound came from his radio. "Martinez, where are you?" his team leader was saying. "We need to regroup at the landing site in 20 minutes. Kyle pressed the button on his radio. "Copy that, on my way." He looked back at Lyra. "Are you going to be okay? Can you walk?" Lyra stood up, testing her legs. She was tall easily, 6.5 feet, and moved with a grace that seemed impossible after what she had just been through. "I will be fine, thanks to your kindness. My people are not far from here. I will find my way back to them." "Good," Kyle said. "Be careful out there." He started to turn away, but Lyra reached out and touched his shoulder. "Wait," she said. "In my culture, when someone saves a life, they create a bond. A debt that must be honored. I will not forget what you did today, Kyle Martinez." He smiled at her. "No debt needed. Anyone would have done the same." "Not anyone," Lyra said softly. "Not everyone would risk themselves for a stranger, especially one from another world. You have a good heart, human. My father will hear of this." With that, she turned and disappeared into the jungle, moving so silently that within seconds it was like she had never been there at all. Kyle stood alone in the clearing for a moment longer, then made his way back to the landing site. He told his team about the encounter, but they seemed more interested in the fact that they had found traces of the crystals they were looking for. 3 days passed. Kyle and his team continued their survey work, moving deeper into the unexplored regions of Vexara Prime. The company wanted a full geological report before they committed to setting up mining operations. Kyle found himself thinking about Lyra, often wondering if she had made it back to her people safely. On the 4th day, everything changed. Kyle was alone at the camp running analysis on rock samples when he heard a sound that made him look up. It was like distant thunder, but steady and rhythmic. The ground began to vibrate slightly. He walked to the edge of the camp and his jaw dropped. Coming through the jungle was a procession of aliens. Sylvani, he realized. Hundreds of them. They moved in organized groups carrying banners made of woven plant fibers and what looked like ceremonial weapons. At the front of the procession was a massive male Sylvani, who could only be a chief. His lavender skin was decorated with intricate tattoos, and he wore a crown made of crystal and bone. Next to him was Lyra. She spotted Kyle and pointed directly at him. The entire procession came to a halt. Kyle stood frozen as the chief and Lyra approached. The rest of his team had emerged from their tents and were staring in shock at the assembled alien clan. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The chief stopped a few feet from Kyle and studied him with eyes the same amber color as his daughter's. Then, to Kyle's complete surprise, the massive alien dropped to one knee and bowed his head. "Kyle Martinez," Lyra said, stepping forward. "My father, Chief Turan, wishes to express the gratitude of the entire Sylvani clan. You saved the life of his heir, his only daughter. By our laws and customs, we are now bound to you." Kyle looked around helplessly at his team, who looked just as confused as he felt. "That's really not necessary," he said. "I was just helping someone in trouble." Turan raised his head and spoke. His voice was deep and resonant. Lyra translated. "My father says that humility is a virtue, but so is accepting honor when it is given. You risked yourself for someone you did not know. Someone from a race you had never encountered. This speaks to your character." The chief stood and gestured to his people. Behind them, Kyle could now see that they were carrying gifts, baskets of strange fruits, bundles of furs, carved totems, and most surprising, containers filled with the exact crystals his team had been searching for. "We have watched your people," Lyra continued. "We know you search for the singing stones." She gestured to the crystals. "We know where they are found in great abundance. My father offers not just these samples, but a partnership. The Sylvani will help you find what you seek, and in return we ask only that you treat our world with respect." Kyle's team leader stepped forward, looking stunned. "This is incredibly generous," he said, "but we would need to clear this with our company with Earth Command." Turan nodded as Lyra translated. "We understand," he said through his daughter, "but we make this offer to Kyle Martinez specifically. He has proven himself worthy of trust. If your people wish to work with the Sylvani, they will work through him." Over the next few hours, the Sylvani clan set up a camp next to the human research site. They brought food and water and began sharing their knowledge of Vexara Prime. Kyle learned that the Sylvani had been watching the human team since they arrived. They had been wary at first, unsure of these strangers' intentions. But Kyle's act of saving Lyra had changed everything as the sons of Vexara Prime began to set painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Lyra sat down next to Kyle. They watched as humans and Sylvani began to mingle, some sharing food, others trying to communicate across the language barrier. "Your company will be pleased," Lyra said. "The singing stones will make you all very wealthy." "It's not about the money," Kyle replied, though he knew that wasn't entirely true for the company. "I'm just glad we can help each other." Lyra smiled. "That is why my father chose you. You see possibilities for cooperation, not just profit." She paused, then added, "You know, by saving me, you have also saved my entire people in a way." "How so?" Kyle asked. "Without an heir, my father would have no one to pass his knowledge and leadership to. Our clan would fracture. War might come." But now she gestured to the gathering around them. "Now we have a future, and perhaps that future includes friendship with humanity." Kyle looked at the scene before him. His team leader was